Alrighty, what's going on everybody? Ninja Star here, and today we are back at it again with your Dragon Ball video for you all. Now today's Dragon Ball video is going to be once again a Dragon Ball reflection. I guess that's what I can call this type of video now, because I haven't really thought of a name for these types of videos that you've been seeing for a while if you've been, following my channel. And you know what, I've thought of a name, Dragon Ball Reflections, let's just stick with that. And today's Dragon Ball Reflections is talking about something that I don't think a lot of other people really take into account. I haven't really seen other videos about this in particular, but I think it's a very interesting topic and kind of correlates well with what's going on right now in Dragon Ball Super. Like last week, as I'm recording this of course, last week we saw Goku versus Jiren, probably what is regarded as one of the best fights in the entire series. The animation was gorgeous, the impact was certainly there, the build-up was one of the best parts, had so many twists and turns, it was very enjoyable to watch. And you know what, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. We're gonna have Hit versus Jiren. I'm recording this video right before the episode airs. I don't know how the episode's gonna go, but I think it's definitely gonna be interesting. But with that all being said, I feel like people are going to still remember Goku vs. Jiren a little more, just because we've grown more accustomed to Goku, rather than we have Hit. And let's be real, Hit in Dragon Ball Super, he hasn't been utilized to the extent that we'd want him to be. So his fight with Jiren, it's definitely going to be cool probably, but I don't feel like it's going to have the same impact as Goku vs. Jiren. But the thing is though, is that it could still be an interesting fight that just doesn't get a lot of praise. An interesting fight that doesn't get a lot of praise. That could be associated with a word by the name, I just say word, but I'm keeping this in. That could be associated with the word underrated. Underrated, I've talked about underrated stuff before, like underrated Dragon Ball characters / wasted, underrated story arcs, stuff like that. I really like talking about underrated type of things because I see they don't get a lot of praise than I would like them to be, and everyone just kind of shrugs them off, and I like reflecting back and just putting it back in your guys' memory, like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was actually really cool, and everything like that. So today's underrated Dragon Ball reflection video is Goku, or not Goku, I should say. I accidentally looked into my list because I have all my picks written down. It's a lot. I would say there's at least 10 to 15. It's crazy. And the most underrated Dragon Ball fights in the whole series. So this includes Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and even Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super, there is one. I'm going to be cheating a little bit here. I think you guys can already tell what it is. There will be one fight which is from the manga, and yes, it's not from the anime, and I know most people are caught up with the anime rather than the manga, but I still put it on there because I feel like it doesn't get a lot of attention. It got attention for the first few days, and then everyone just kind of shrugged it off. I thought it was a really dope fight, personally. With that all aside, let's get right into it. Starting off from the original Dragon Ball, there isn't too much. I was thinking about putting Goku versus Piccolo, not Piccolo Jr., King Piccolo on here, but I was like, whatever, I feel like it already does get enough praise, and the fight, it's mostly the build-up that makes it really exciting, and then, everything after that is kind of so I didn't get as much of the chills as I did watching Goku versus Piccolo Jr. And also these fights are the underrated ones. That one's, kind of normal, but Goku versus Jackie Chun is the first one on my list. Goku vs. Jackie Chun, I think, is just way too underappreciated. Maybe because of how early it is. We're talking, okay, so what we've seen so far in terms, I'm just rating this based on sagas, not arcs, mini arcs, whatever. We had the whole, peel off first arc, Dragon Ball stuff, and then we went into the tournament. And the tournament can also be associated with, the Goku and Krillin training under Master Roshi. And I really like that segment. So, to see the final climactic fight of this whole build-up that's going on in early Dragon Ball, it is definitely interesting to see, because we're seeing, even Roshi's participating in this 21st martial arts tournament. Was it 21? I think it was 21. 21st martial arts tournament. So it's it would be funny if Roshi runs into Goku and they actually have it. That's the final fight. Boom! It's the final fight. I think this is kind of a stepping point for Goku as he realizes, oh my gosh, I really can't take on everyone, can I? He knew Master Roshi was stronger, and I don't think Master Roshi, told him, yo, Goku, I'm Roshi, I'm Jackie. No, he told him, yo, I'm Jackie Chun, let's dance for a little bit in the beginning. That, I don't remember if that was anime only, but it was pretty funny. And then the two fought, it was a decently paced battle, animation was gorgeous, Toei was really putting in the work for it. And overall, the build-up towards it were student versus master, and Goku loses that battle, and he realizes, oh my gosh, you know, I've realized, you know what, I can get better, I can make myself a better fighter, and this is one of my favorite elements from the original Dragon Ball, which it kind of sucks that it was missing from Z and Super and whatever, but regardless though, I love this fight. If you haven't seen the original Dragon Ball, this is definitely, I think, the first great fight. Like, sure, it's the tournament. There's gonna be like great mini fights here and there, but this is the one that everyone remembers. This is the one that everyone loves. But I feel like it still doesn't get enough praise. So, oh my gosh, I have been rambling on for 5 minutes, and that's only the first pick. Well, I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit, but next one is, you know, the last one from the original Dragon Ball. It's going to be Goku versus Tao. Goku versus, actually, wait, no, shoot. Oh my gosh, you know what I just realized? I'm not cutting this out, by the way. I have one more. This is the second to last, I should say, because I just thought of one. I completely forgot. Yeah, let's get into this right now. Goku versus Tao, great battle. Definitely one of the probably better parts of the Red Ribbon Army arc, because the Red Ribbon Army arc in the manga was really enjoyable to read, but in the anime, Toei just kind of screwed with it, adding too much filler, making the canon scenes a little more dragged than how it should have been. But overall, it was still an okay arc, but I feel like this fight was done really well, because it's like the first time we're seeing Goku, because this was after the tournament, alright? This was after Goku took that L. He's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna get better as a fighter, I'm gonna do great, everything like that, and yeah, that's just how it went. And when it comes down to something like this, Tao was really Goku's first obstacle, because for the most part, this arc had been mostly like an adventure arc. Goku searching for the Dragon Balls, racing with the Red Ribbon Army as well, facing off a bunch of the members of the army. It was a very long arc. I don't remember how long, but I think it was one of the longer ones from the original Dragon Ball, especially in the anime. Overall, the final climactic fight of all this is Tao, a guy who we saw in the past, literally one-shots, or not even one-shots. Remember General Blue? I think it was General Blue. He came back like, oh shoot, I lost against Goku, and then Tao's like, no, the big boys are coming in. He puts his tongue on General Blue, like, are you finished? Yeah, he's like, nah, dude, you're worse, and then it just knocks out General Blue. It was crazy. This man, Tao, is unlike anything we've seen before, and we legit get worried for Goku, like, oh my gosh, how is Goku actually gonna beat this guy? And I feel like the fight as a whole was just so great to see. It gave Goku a challenge, and not to mention, like, we saw the death of, Bora? I don't remember if it was Bora or Bora's dad. I can't remember the name, but I'll have it up on the screen correcting myself. But we saw him die, and this was a very sad moment because we haven't really seen much of death in the original Dragon Ball. This kind of brought about the start of the whole like wishing people back from the dead idea in Dragon Ball as a whole, and I feel like the impact of this fight was just so strong. If Goku lost this, Bora's death wouldn't have made it in vain, but if, you know, Goku won this, he could have saved it, he could have ended off well and everything like that, and he didn't want to let the Red Ribbon Army win, and I just love this fight. I love this fight so much, along with, I feel like original Dragon Ball fights are probably some of my favorites, because my favorite fight in all of Dragon Ball is Goku vs Piccolo in the 23rd Martial Arts Tournament, but, you know, that already gets a fair amount of praise. I didn't put it on this list for reasons, but transitioning though, we get on to the final underrated fight in the original Dragon Ball, Goku vs Ten Shinhan, alright? Goku vs Ten Shinhan in the original, like, I think it was 22nd tournament, was definitely a sight to see. It was Goku once again going up against Chang, because we saw him get W's, you know, stuff like that. He's starting to improve, but then you have someone like Ten Shinhan, who's such a unique fighter, and just kind of wins against Goku, and Goku's like, oh my gosh, this guy certainly has something, I don't know if I have a chance. And then, you know, that's when the whole and then remember there was also the time skip, and this was the fight after the time skip. Like, the Goku vs Ten Shinhan, the 22nd tournament, I'll be brief about it. It was a great one to see, like many of the others. Definitely had similar traits to Goku vs Jackie Chun, except we didn't know what we were coming into with Ten Shinhan. Unlike Master Roshi, I feel like it made the mystery aspect a lot more engaging to see. Because with Jackie Chun, we're like, okay, yeah, this is Roshi, we know what Roshi's like. But with this guy, Ten Shinhan, completely new, very interesting to see. And I feel like now that we actually have an idea what he's like, when they came back after the time skip and everything, Goku vs Ten Shinhan was one of the duels in the 23rd Martial Arts Tournament. Now, granted, the main event for the 23rd Martial Arts Tournament was Goku vs Piccolo, and Goku vs Piccolo was already kind of, like I said, it's my favorite fight. It's the one a lot of people remember from the original Dragon Ball. But Goku vs Ten Shinhan, like, Goku improving from like all his mistakes, from him like truly maturing, because I think Goku's like 18 at this time, something like that. He's basically like an older teenager, young adult, and Tenshinhan's like, oh Goku, I always saw potential in you, but now time to see where those 3 years of training went into play. And boom, the two had a great fight, and Goku ultimately ended up winning. And I feel like it wasn't more so revenge as it was kind of a comeback, and I felt it was just an enjoyable one to see. And I get it, it was overshadowed by Goku versus Piccolo, but I still think this one is probably, I would say, my second favorite out of the whole, 23rd Martial Arts Tournament. And that's it for the original Dragon Ball. Oh my gosh, 10 minutes long. That was only like three or four picks, okay. Z and Super and GT. Actually, not much for GT. We have a lot to get to, so I'm going to try to speed through this. I went really in detail with the original Dragon Ball just due to the fact that I know many people haven't seen it, so I wanted to make it a little more, how do I put it, detailed for you all. And with Z, you've all seen Z. You all have an idea. Starting off our Z list, I was actually going to put Z Fighters versus, Nappa and Vegeta, but I was like, whatever. Yes, that is a fight, but I feel like it does already get enough praise in its own right. So the next arc is, I think, one that some people regard as the best. It's actually not even close to my favorite, but it had a very interesting fight that I think a lot of people don't give credit for. It's Piccolo versus Frieza. Piccolo versus Frieza. We've seen Frieza's savagery in the Namek arc, him slaughtering all those Namekians, doing all those horrible things to planet Namek, and then we saw Z Fighters like, okay, we gotta wish everyone back. So the impact and the stakes were definitely there, and I feel that's another reason why the arc was so strong. And when they actually went up against Frieza, it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are getting screwed over. Like, they overestimate, they overestimated Frieza way too much, and Frieza's just kind of bodying them, essentially. And remember earlier, they wished for Piccolo, they revived Piccolo first, but then like their second wish is like, okay, yeah, let's bring him here to Namek. So we saw, after, like, we're feeling bad for the Namekians. We already saw Frieza's fight against Nail, probably the strongest one on planet Namek, and Frieza bodied him. Literally, like, it was crazy to see. So when we see that scene where Piccolo sees Nail's like, yo, I haven't seen you once, but we're Namekians, I see. Please avenge us, everything like that. And then they do the fusion technique, which is just so, we've never seen anything like it. I thought that was a great moment overall. And, Piccolo's whole, I can do this, I feel great, I can win, or something like that. That was funny to see, especially in the dub. But when Piccolo actually got there, and that whole standoff of him versus Frieza, it definitely shows, like, oh my gosh, if this was the actual final fight of the Frieza saga, it would have actually ended off in an alright way. Piccolo's avenging all the Namekians who have died, who have fought, and Frieza just slaughters them, and then you have someone like Frieza who's a complete tyrant. It is certainly a way to end off, and if Piccolo defeated Frieza at this very current moment in time, why did I say that? I meant in the Frieza saga. If Piccolo defeated Frieza right then and there, it would have been certainly impactful. It would have been so satisfying. Like, oh my gosh, this idiot Frieza, this freaking tyrant Frieza got his punishment after slaughtering all those Namekians, and what a way to do it than from Piccolo himself. Unfortunately, that wasn't what happened. I know that kind of went into speculation territory, but overall, the fight was very enjoyable to see, and it does suck that, Piccolo still lost. But I feel like overall, that was one of the best fights of the Frieza saga. If not, I think that might be one of my favorites. Of course, most people like Goku vs. Frieza. But in terms of anime, because I didn't like Goku vs. Frieza, and the anime dragged on way too much, this one's actually maybe my favorite in the anime. But yeah, I know it's kind of funny. That's like the only one from the Frieza saga. Man, I should make a whole video one of these days why I don't like the Frieza saga, but I don't want to get this too rambly. Let's go on to the Android/Cell saga, and the first one starting off is one I think you all are familiar with, and I guess it's the least. No, there's one more. It's one of the least underrated because in recent years I've noticed a lot more people have started praising it. I would assume because of Kai and everything, but Piccolo vs. 17 is probably one of the best fights in not only Z but in all of Dragon Ball, and I think many others who remember this fight can agree to this, because Piccolo vs. 17 was definitely something to see. Piccolo vs. 17, okay, there were, two different types. There was one, like the second one kind of drifted off into its own right. There wasn't like necessarily a clear winner, but I feel like with the first one, it was definitely great to see, because not only was the choreography great, Toei nailed it, it was also like kind of the build-up, like Piccolo, like, you know, we're seeing Goku's kind of out of commission here. None of the Z fighters really seem to stand a chance. Like, it feels somewhat even, but also like kind of an edge on the Android side. We don't know what's to come. There's also hints about there's also hints about, like, oh my gosh, there's like there's something even stronger than the Androids coming soon. And, like, you know, we saw that with 16, Cell, everything like that. So it was definitely crazy to see. And when we see someone like Piccolo, who has been alpha through Dragon Ball Z, going against someone like Android 17, who's also been alpha out of the Androids. Like, you saw how this man killed Jiro. Like, the two badasses, screw Vegeta, let's not count him. He got bodied by 18. We don't count that. But Piccolo versus 17 was definitely something to see, and I feel like it kind of established a little bit of a grudge against, but overall, the fight was definitely great to see. I know I keep talking about it. I seem like I'm repeating myself, but I think that's pretty self-explanatory to say. And it does suck the second one kind of drifted into something else. But I thought it was kind of cool, though, when the two teamed up against Imperfect Cell. And that made it like, oh my gosh, these two were going up against each other just like many episodes ago. And now they're going up against Imperfect Cell. It was definitely cool to see, and their like rivalry chemistry type thing was very dope to see as well. And, you know, in Super, I'm happy they did they play. I don't think they played too much of a role with the whole 17 Piccolo rivalry. I think they did show like a few hints, maybe slight grudges, but it wasn't anything too crazy. Yeah, that I know Piccolo versus 17, I didn't express it as well as I would have liked, but I think you all get the picture. You all probably remember that anyways, so it's all good. So next up, we have something from the. Actually, you know, it's another Piccolo fight. I'm looking up my list. I'm going to keep this one short as well. Piccolo versus Imperfect Cell. Piccolo versus Imperfect Cell. It's right after the, you know, first Piccolo versus 17, but it's right before, you know, the second encounter or whatever. Piccolo just fused with Kami. So Piccolo kind of has a little bit of a grudge against Kami, but he's learned to accept that grudge. He's like, okay, whatever, I'm fusing with you just to get it over, just to save the world. And we see Piccolo, at this very current moment in time, is the strongest Z fighter. I love this. Piccolo is one of my favorites, and to see him have such great development like this, and such like a dope scenes overall, and the potential for him, it was definitely great to see at that time. And of course, you know, we get into like Buu Saga GT, but whatever, this is at the current moment. It was great to see, and with someone like Imperfect Cell, it seems like the perfect guy up against Piccolo. We don't know what's to come for Imperfect Cell. We haven't seen much of him, and actually, no, it wasn't even that. Imperfect Cell just kind of came out of the blue, like, yo, what's poppin', Piccolo? And then Piccolo's like, oh yeah, let's fight. And then I feel like overall, Piccolo not only stood a chance, but Imperfect Cell stood a chance as well. It was a fairly even fight, along with Piccolo versus 17, the second encounter. Of course, the first encounter, 17 was kind of beating Piccolo, but second encounter was cool. And I feel like with this, it was definitely great to see, like, you didn't know what the clear winner was, and even though this fight kind of drifted away, like there wasn't necessarily like a clear winner like many other Dragon Ball Z fights and Dragon Ball fights, it was still definitely great to see, great to watch. Toei nailed it. I think even Toriyama did pretty well with it, like animating all the fight scenes and everything like that. Did I just say animating the fight? I am so okay. Listen, I'm sorry, I haven't recorded in a while, guys. Like drew the fight scenes. Oh my gosh, my mind's all over the place. Let's just get this video over with. Next up, ending off the whole like Cell saga, Android saga, whatever you want to say, we go to the Cell Games arc and Goku vs. Cell. Goku vs. Cell, next one right there. You all probably remember it, but I feel like Gohan vs. Cell gets maybe a little bit too much praise. I understand, you know, that kind of overshadows it because you've got so many dope moments like Gohan going Super Saiyan 2, the Father-Son Kamehameha, a bunch of cool stuff like that. And then you have something like, how do I put it? You have someone like Goku, who kind of had a fairly even match against Cell, but it wasn't anything too remarkable. Like, sure, he had that dope instant transmission Kamehameha scene, which is actually one of my favorite Goku moments. It's fun to see, because that, no one expected that. Like, you think, oh my gosh, is Goku really... I keep saying, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I just said it again, okay. Whatever. Goku's instant transmission, that was definitely... Goku's instant transmission Kamehameha. Instant transmission was just something that was sort of introduced recently, but we're kind of already adapt to it. And when he combined that with the Kamehameha, no one expected, like, whoa, is he really gonna fire at the earth like that? It's gonna kill everyone. And then the way he just disappears out of the blue right in front of Cell, like, yo, what's good, fam? Cell's like, oh god, no. And then Goku just Kamehamehas him. He had so many great moments like that in Goku vs. Cell. Goku vs. Cell is such an even match, and you know, we just saw like, you know, Cell versus Hercule. That wasn't anything. It was just kind of meant as a joke, but even Cell's looking forward to Goku, and Goku even hinted, like, when Semi-Perfect Cell was there, when he was rescuing Ten Shinhan, he was like, yo, alright, we gotta fight later words, not right now, I know you want to fight now, but let's say that for later words. And definitely the build-up is worth it. It does kind of suck that Gohan vs. Cell overshadows this, because to be honest, I like this fight a lot more, because not only was it a lot more even rather than Gohan vs. Cell, which was kind of a back and forth. I feel like with this, it was just, you didn't know what the clear winner was, and the way Goku gave up just to pass the torch to Gohan, it was definitely interesting build-up, because we're already seeing Cell, like, his capabilities and everything, and now we're seeing Gohan, like, how is Gohan going to do this? And overall, it was definitely a great one to see, and watch, and read if you read it. The manga version was pretty good, too. And that kind of concludes, actually no, there's one more. I know many of you are going to bring this up, Ten Shinhan vs. Cell. Ten Shinhan vs. Cell, it was a great moment for Ten Shinhan, but I feel overall, just because he did the Neo Tri-Beam over and over again, that doesn't justify it being a really good fight, let alone a fight. It's just Ten Shinhan holding off, or Tien, however you want to say it. It's just him holding off Cell temporarily, which was a great moment, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't so much to call it a fight. So in the case that anyone, like, you know, is wondering, hey, where's the fight? It's not here. I know, I've seen that fight. I just say fight. I saw that moment. I love the moment. The Shinki Koho, Neo Tri-Beam, whatever you want to say it, and great to see. Ending off the Cell saga, we now go into the Buu saga, the final saga of Dragon Ball Z. The first one I have on my list is actually kind of one that's taking place in the middle of the Buu saga, and it's Gotenks versus Super Buu. Gotenks versus Super Buu does get praise, but I feel like as a whole, the Buu saga doesn't focus too much on. Buu saga focuses more so on the moments rather than the actual fights. But regardless, though, it was definitely fun to watch, fun to read, everything like that. And Gotenks versus Super Buu, I know a lot of people don't like Gotenks. A lot of people don't like Gotenks. They don't like Goten. Some might like Trunks, but I think after you get someone dope like Future Trunks, you just kind of forget about it. And by the way, Future Trunks, I was thinking about including his, I don't mean to get too off topic, but I was thinking of including his final fight against, like, the androids, like him coming back to the future and pretty much bodying them in Imperfect Cell, but I feel that wasn't, it was just him getting revenge rather than something like an actual close fight, like you don't know who's gonna win, or you're kind of like really engaged with it. You know Trunks was gonna win, let's be real. Back to the topic though, with Gotenks, a lot of people didn't like him, and with Super Buu, it's like, whoa, what happened to Fat Buu? Now we're seeing someone a lot more interesting, I should say, feels a lot more like a Dragon Ball Z villain. And with Gotenks versus Super Buu, they're in the hyperbolic time chamber, or room of spirit and time, or however you want to say it. They're in there, like, and so is Piccolo. Piccolo's just watching, and you don't know how it's gonna go. They have the environment all. Did I just say environment? They have the environment all to themselves, and no one can really do anything about it. There's no point interfering, and the fact that, you know, there was that time limit thing, but whatever, you know, let's not discuss that. It was definitely a great one to see. We saw Gotenks, like, this was the full potential of Gotenks fully executed on Super Buu, and Super Buu, we're like, how is he gonna stand a chance against this monster that is Gotenks? Like, even Goku has regarded Goten and Trunks' extreme potential, and with Super Buu, we've seen, if Majin Buu was that strong and Super Buu is supposed to be stronger, this fight is definitely going to be a close one, and quite a fun one, I should say. This fight is pretty fun to watch, and in the end, Super Buu still ended up winning. Like, overall, like, you could say the hyperbolic time, this room of spirit in time, Super Buu got away, but at the end of the day, Gotenks still lost, but it was definitely a great one to see. So now we transition to Gohan versus Super Buu. This one, I would say, I was thinking about not putting it on here because it still does get its fair amount of praise. Like, you know, it's still in the video game, still everything like that. But I think it's still, many people, I still don't see a lot of people regarding this that much as they do with like the beginning of this fight. The whole Gohan saying, "Fight you, no, I'm gonna kill you," or something. So I feel like the fight itself, not many people talk about it. They just talk about, like, Gohan's cool moment, Gohan actually, like, having some great development there, but overall, the fight itself, I think, is way too underappreciated. Yes, it wasn't as long as I would have liked, but it was definitely great to see because we're seeing Gohan, a guy who this Buu saga has mostly been focused on like Goku, but also Gohan and Gotenks. We just saw Gotenks. We're thinking like, oh my gosh, the new generation, it's gonna be something, and then Super Buu just kind of, you know what I mean? And so we saw the new generation. We saw Super Buu's extreme capabilities, extreme like great skills, great usefulness of his like kind of bubblegummy-ish body. Is that even a word? I don't know. Use of all that. It was definitely wild. And when you have someone like Gohan, we're like, okay, Gohan's already strong on his own. Even after without training for 7 years, he still has his capabilities. He still has his strengths. His weaknesses are there, sure, but now that he's awakened his ultimate form or his mystic form, or however you want to say it, we're like, how is he going to stand a chance? Like Super Buu, but then you're also like, how is Gohan gonna stand a chance against this monster? It definitely is. Like, I think a lot of what makes this fight so good is the build-up. Yeah, the build-up should be praised, but the fight as well. Super Buu still stands a decent chance. We see Gohan just botting him left and right, and we're like, okay, is Gohan gonna win? And then it transitions to Super Buu gaining an upper hand at times, like, you know, with the whole absorption thing. And then he gets to, you know, like Buu tanks, and we're like, oh no, no, and then it just goes downhill. Like, it's definitely plot twisting fight. I don't know how to find a good word to describe it, but it definitely is probably one of the best Buu Saga fights, if not the best. Like, I meant the other way around. One of the best Buu Saga fights and one of the best Z fights. So that's basically. Actually, no, there's one more in this long Buu Saga video. It's 26 minutes, and we're not even done with Dragon Ball Z yet. We still have Super and GT. This is gonna be a long video. I hope you all who are listening to this at least like have it playing in the background, because I'm probably not gonna edit this out all too much. Maybe at the beginning, I don't know. But next up, we transition to Ten Shinhan versus Super Buu. Ten Shinhan versus Super Buu was a little bit of a shorter one. I think it was anime only. It was just always filler. But regardless, though, Ten Shinhan versus Super Buu was definitely something no one really expected, but it was one of us. We haven't got this excited from Ten Shinhan that we did in the Cell Saga, like him holding off Perfect Cell. Him holding off, did I just say Perfect? Semi-Perfect Cell was already a great moment in its own right, but his fight against Super Buu, no one expected that. We've seen some of his stuff in Z, but for the most part, he's kind of been wasted. And then we see him here. Most of the Earthlings are dead. Most of the Earthlings, people on Earth, whatever, our heroes are kind of just dead thanks to Super Buu. So how on earth is Ten Shinhan gonna be able to stand a chance? Oh my gosh, he still tried to hold everyone back while, you know, Goku's trying to find, like, you know, the whole earring situation, whatever. So that was not only a defining moment for Ten Shinhan, but a fight that no one really expected, but also really enjoyed. Probably one of my favorite Ten Shinhan fights, and not only Dragon Ball Z. Well, he barely had any fights in Dragon Ball Z, but one of my favorite fights in Dragon Ball as a whole. I feel like this one's underappreciated, maybe just because it's anime only and was kind of overshadowed by some other stuff. And yeah, you know, Ten Shinhan still lost, but it was great to see him stand a chance against Buu. And for a second, we're like, oh my gosh, is he going to be actually the one to defeat Majin Buu? But it's like, nah, he's not going to do that. That would be way too much of an ass pull, despite it being Dragon Ball of all things. But that is concluding the Buu Saga underrated fights. That feels way too long. Now we get into Super. Should I start Super or GT? Actually, you know, I'll start with GT, okay? Yeah, because I feel like it would be better to end off on a note with Super, because with Super, it's going on right now. It would be better to just end off that way. Let's start with GT. Goku and Android 18 versus Super 17. Goku and Android 18 versus Super 17. You all know I like the Super 17 arc. You all know that's my favorite GT arc. You all know I have a strong bias towards it for like some weird reasons. But I feel like overall Goku and 18 versus Super 17 is not only a great moment for 18, but just a great moment in that arc and GT as a whole. And I feel like it doesn't get enough praise than it should be, I should say. Goku and 18 we haven't seen too much of her fights, but we also saw, like, we did see, like, Krillin's death. Krillin's death not only impacted 18, Krillin's husband, or did I just say husband? I'm so sorry. Krillin's wife, we also saw the death of Krillin impacting Goku. We've seen it impact Goku once and twice, you know, and the third time it was just kind of like, you know, everyone's already dead, so Goku is everyone to worry about. But with here, third time, Goku, he's like, oh my gosh, you're serious here, Super 17. I'm really gonna have to get back at you. So you have two people that have this strong grudge against Super 17. With 18, it's hard for her to fully like fight against her brother, but her brother just this isn't her brother. This is someone else. He's changed. This is not how she wants it to be. But that just makes the impact of the fight a lot more worth it. And the way Goku finishes off Super 17 with the, you know, Super Dragon Fist, the aftermath of it as well, is definitely a sight to see in the anime. Toei, nice work. You may have screwed with GT a little bit, but regardless though, you did great on this. People may like dislike GT and especially the Super 17 arc. I love it personally. Maybe it's just me and my weird opinions, but now we transition to Dragon Ball Super. Was that the only? Yeah, that was the only GT fight. That's funny. We transitioned to Dragon Ball Super, and it's funny because these two are the only I think they're the only Vegeta moments in this whole like list. Vegeta versus Magetta in the Universe 6 Saga. Vegeta versus Magetta in the Universe 6 Saga, I feel, doesn't get enough praise. Like most of these, but especially this one, because we just saw, you know, like Vegeta versus Kaba. That was definitely a sight to see, like two Saiyans going up against each other, different goals, different motives, but still similar in a lot of ways. And then we're seeing this right here, you know. Oh yeah, right before that we saw Frost. So Vegeta's going up against this other, like this second to last Universe 6 member, and Magetta, this guy we haven't really seen much of. He just seems like a big cool robot, you know. He's CG as well. It's kind of funny. So we're seeing Vegeta, especially like with a lot of Magetta's attacks. Vegeta is struggling. Vegeta, of course, he could have just went blue, but of course, you know, wants to conserve that energy, wants to give himself a little bit of a challenge. It still is fun to see. It's probably, I think, one of, up until like a few other episodes, this was my favorite. Oh, up until like Goku vs. Hit, this was my favorite Universe 6 fight. I like this a lot more than Vegeta vs. Kaba, because Vegeta vs. Kaba was kind of Vegeta mentoring Kaba, I should say, like telling him, yo, this is your flaw, you gotta improve on this, yo, this is your strong point, you can keep doing stuff like that. It was a lot more like that battle rather than here, which is, it's two dudes fighting it out, like Dragon Ball. We all know and love it for its brilliant writing, and the way Vegeta finishes off too, you know, he went blue, it made it really satisfying. Remember the final flash, and the way, another way he defeated Magetta too, it was like with the whole with the whole freaking, I don't know how to put it, Vegeta finishing off Magetta with the like his words. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even come up with the words there for a sec. Like kind of insulting. We saw Magetta's like sensitive feelings. It was funny to see. That's it for the Universe 6 Saga. Really, I feel like the other ones, like Goku vs. Botamo, it was meh. I don't know. Goku vs. Frost, as well. I didn't really feel as much of the impact or build up towards that one. Vegeta vs. Kappa was great, but I feel like that already does get enough praise. And then Vegeta vs. Magetta, that was great to see. Oh yeah, Piccolo vs. Frost, that was cool too. I was thinking of putting that on the list, but I decided against it just due to the fact that it like, don't get me wrong, the animation with a lot of it was great, but and also kind of the impact, but I feel like just due to the fact that Frost came off as a Frieza clone midway through the battle and everything like that, I feel it didn't end off the way I wanted it to. It had a very, very, very strong beginning and middle, but I feel like the ending just kind of ruined it for us all. But now we can get out. Yeah, and there was Goku vs. Hit, but we all know that gets praise. Transitioning from all of that, though, we now get into something that's manga only. Oh yeah, before we add in, I also want to add in, what are my words right now? I can't speak. Before we go any further, I also want to add that, yes, Goku vs. Hit in the... There was like one... I don't know how to put it. It was in the 70s, like 71, 72. Goku vs. Hit once again, like round 2, I should say. That was definitely very something. Like, none of us really expected something like that. We all had high expectations for it. And then it ended up being something that we hadn't really expected. But it was still a great one to see. Probably, I think I think that's more so an underrated arc rather than an underrated fight, because we saw Goku still has a long way to go, and I do like that message that it's perceiving to us, but at the same time, it's like, it wasn't more so meant as a fight rather than, you know, Whis kind of like, yo, Goku, you kind of got to improve like that. I didn't feel as much of it as I would have liked, but as much of the impact as I would have liked. But regardless, though, we now transition to the last Dragon Ball Super fight on the underrated fight on this list. This video is going long. I hope it doesn't go past the 40-minute mark. It's already at like 35 minutes. We now transition to Vegeta versus Beerus. You're probably all thinking, oh my gosh, what are you talking about, Ninja? Episode, like the beginning parts of the Battle of God Saga, that fight was awful. I agree with you. We are not talking about that. We are talking about something that is manga only. Toyotaro himself. Done by Toyotaro. Not Toei, Toyotaro. Vegeta versus Beerus. You might remember in the beginning of this video, I brought up something that was manga only, and this is what I was talking about. I figured, you know what, why not a way to end off? Vegeta versus Beerus. Vegeta. We've seen him after the Future Trunks arc is like, okay, yeah, Goku kind of got that last kill against Merge Zamasu, but I still got a few cool fights. But when we see him training against, training with Whis and Beerus once again, and he tries his hand against Beerus, this is definitely a great showcase of Vegeta's power since the time that he's been training with Whis and Beerus. And the way Beerus, this is also a great fight for Beerus as well. Like, I was thinking about putting Beerus versus Goku, but I was like, that already kind of does get praise in its own right. And this one, though, I feel it's a very good execution to show how far Goku and Vegeta have advanced in terms of becoming closer to Beerus and improving, not only in terms of fighters of their universe, but fighters overall, like going way past the mortal level, becoming very close to being God of Destruction level. Now, I'm not a power scaler, you all know that, but I still do think it's a very interesting storyline that Toei is adapting, and it's interesting because this fight, I feel like it could have worked really well in the anime, but it didn't. It was manga only, but regardless, we saw Vegeta just going up against Beerus. It was a very tense battle. For a moment, you know, we've all know that, you know, Beerus is still stronger than Goku and Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta are still powerful in their own right, but with Beerus, he's just completely on a league of its own. There's a reason he rose up to the ranks of God of Destruction. Goku and Vegeta are very strong, but not at that level yet. But when we're reading this fight, I should say, when we're reading this fight, we don't think of that. We don't think like, okay, yeah, he's still weaker than Beerus. We're thinking, oh my gosh, is this man actually standing a chance against this God of Destruction? And I feel like this one doesn't get enough praise just because it's the manga. Like, a lot of people like to diss on the manga just because Toyotaro, the way he did the Trunks arc, it was very poor in a lot of aspects. But I feel like after the aftermath of all this, and I feel like Toyotaro is doing the universal survival stuff really nicely, as we've seen with the whole newest chapter. I guess spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled, but he showed something in the Tournament of Power, like a fight between all the God of Destructions we haven't seen in the anime, and I prefer this over all the stupid exhibition matches like Goku, Gohan, and Majin Buu versus, you know, the Universe 9 Kickers and whatever, and Trio de Dangers. I like that a lot more, and I like how Toyotaro does certain things a lot more. And it sucks that this scene wasn't added in the anime, because I'm sure Toei could have done this really well, but it was certainly great to see. Regardless though, it was still great to see Vegeta going up against Beerus. This 38-minute video talking about the most underrated Dragon Ball fights is finally over. I feel like I still forgot something, but regardless though, what are you guys' thoughts on this whole video? I don't know how many of you are going to watch this all the way through. If you did watch this all the way through, I want to thank you so much. I know I kind of rambled on. I meant this more so like a laid-back, chill discussion. I'm still doing this in one take. I'm probably not going to edit out any audio or whatever. I still want to talk about these fights, because when you have because I like to give shine to little things that don't get a lot of attention, and with Dragon Ball, these fights don't get a lot of praise. These fights are kind of like, whatever, but because everyone's always praising the other ones. Like, everyone's always praising Goku vs. Jiren, which is certainly a great fight. Everyone's always praising like Goku vs. Vegeta, which is certainly a great fight. But everyone tends to forget about these little ones that also made the build up to the bigger ones, I should say, a lot more impactful as well. And that's why I make these types of videos, to help out, to give everyone like a good reflection of the series we've all known and loved for many years. Because I know a lot of us are focused on Super, but I figured, why not? Let's just take it back a little bit. That's why I don't make too many of these videos, because I don't want it to be a blatant recap of every single bit that's happened in Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT. I just want to have fun with you all. I want to like just take a moment to step back, because I know many people don't really follow Super, which is it's kind of funny, because I still do. I actually make somewhat regular Super content, but you know, people are still like, yeah, whatever. You know, I understand if you drop Super, but that's what these videos are for the ones who aren't necessarily following Super all that much, or want to not really talk about Super, want to talk about the original Dragon Ball or Z or GT or whatever. And yeah, hope you all enjoyed this. What are your favorite? What do you all think are the most underrated fights? Did I forget something on this list? Do you guys think like I'm overrating it a little bit too much? What are your guys' thoughts? I want to hear what you all have to say, because these discussions are meant to not only this video is mainly meant to give my input. I need to hear your guys' input in the comment section down below. The whole point of these discussions is to create like a back and forth going on in not only the comment section, but in the Dragon Ball community as a whole, because I'm noticing these discussions are starting to build up a lot more, and it's fun seeing that. So yeah, anyways guys, thanks so much for watching, and Ninja, peace everybody, and have a good day. Oh my god, this video was long.